President Trump has instructed the Defense Department to immediately start testing nuclear weapons again. The United States has the ability to resume tests at a federal site in Nevada. The president says more details would be made public before those tests are carried out. He claims the decision puts the United States on an equal playing field with Moscow and Beijing. China has not tested a nuclear device since 1996. Russia says it recently tested its nuclear capabilities but did not actually detonate any weapons. And joining us now is Jay Coghlan, Executive Director of Nuclear Watch New Mexico, a nonprofit watchdog group based out of Santa Fe. Mr. Coghlan, thanks for being with us.
You're most welcome.
I want to start with just the rationale here for the president resuming these nuclear tests. What is that?
Beats me. I'm not sure there is a rationale. I assume that he's reacting to some recent threats by Vladimir Putin. But apparently Trump has ordered the resumption of the test of actual nuclear warheads, whereas Putin has been boasting recently about delivery systems, not the warheads themselves. So I'm not the only one that's plenty puzzled by Trump's apparent order to the Pentagon.
What exactly does the president's order involve, and where would these tests be conducted?
Well, first of all, there's very little detail, and it should be noted that he issued that statement just minutes before a crucial meeting with the President Xi of China. And the only reason we know about it is because he posted it on his social media platform, so-called Truth Social. But he got a few things wrong. He directed his Department of War, formerly the Department of Defense, to conduct nuclear weapons tests when it would actually be the Department of Energy that would conduct those tests. But the DOE hasn't done so since 1992.
What did you make of the post in its entirety?
Well, I confess given the lack of details, there's not much to make of it, except that this is an exceedingly serious development. It could set off a whole cascade of adverse proliferation events. Putin has already vowed that should the U.S. test, Russia will respond. It will likely lead to China, North Korea, India, Pakistan, et cetera, et cetera. And we'd be off to the races. Which is a bit of a pun, be unfortunately off to a new nuclear arms race.
I mean, that is one of the immediate risks, isn't it? What about for local communities near a potential test site like Las Vegas, surrounding areas? What would be the immediate risks here at home?
Well, that would be the test site, the Nevada test site, approximately 90 miles north of Las Vegas. Now, already the Nevada congressional delegation is up in arms, and there's a very bitter history of the ill effects that downwinders have suffered across Nevada, Utah, in fact, in almost every state. And it's ironic that, here I sit in New Mexico, and yet our victims, the New Mexican victims of the first test, that is the Trinity test, have yet to be compensated.
And when you talk about the effects of the testing from years ago, the real life consequences, just tell us what some of those are.
It's primarily cancer deaths from atmospheric testing, which did end in 1962. But the irony is there is one independent scientist who has calculated that the most cancer deaths are still yet to come. And this is because of a long-lived fission product from atmospheric testing.
As you know, here in the Northwest, we have Hanford, and I'm sure people are wondering, could there be an impact at all? As you know, it was a very costly cleanup effort still ongoing. Could this even shift Trump's nuclear agenda that could impact Hanford?
Well, first of all, I'm going to make the general and somewhat obvious claim. This is the kind of thing that can impact the entire world. without question. I reiterate that we are talking about an accelerating nuclear arms race that is arguably even more dangerous than the first arms race, because now we have multiple nuclear actors. We got new cyber weapons, new hypersonic weapons, and we got the rise of artificial intelligence. Now, to bring it down specifically to the Hanford area in Washington State, that's the Northwest is kind of one of the few corners of the U.S. that didn't suffer directly from nuclear weapons fallout from atmospheric testing. But that said, Hanford, of course, had the infamous Green Run, in which radioactive iodine was intentionally released that impacted, to this date, an unknown number of Washington State citizens.
Mr. Coghlan, I guess I want to end with just your assessment of where we are and why Americans, why everyone across the globe, but particularly Americans, should care about what we see happening with this announcement from the White House.
Well, I mean, it's obvious. Americans should care about nuclear weapons, and Americans should care about the fact that our country is in a $2 trillion, and that's trillion with a T, a $2 trillion program to keep nuclear weapons forever. And it's not only about the one-word rationale that's always claimed, that being for deterrence. The U.S. and Russian deterrence, for that matter, also includes nuclear warfighting capabilities that can end civilization overnight. So while millions are being passed off of Medicaid, new nukes.
I lost the last part of your comment there. If you don't mind repeating that last sentence, because I think it was important for us to hear.
Yes, I was simply noting that we're spending $2 trillion on a program to keep nuclear weapons forever, when it's our best interest to provide global leadership to end this nuclear arms race and put that money back into our true national security interests, such as keeping our population healthy, addressing economic inequality and homelessness, et cetera.
And then finally, a yes or no question. Do you take the president at his word? Do you think we are actually going to restart nuclear testing, or do you not?
We are producing new design nuclear weapons with new plutonium pit bomb cores. My fear, it's difficult to judge right now how seriously to take Trump's statement, but in the long run, because we're producing new design nuclear weapons, there will inevitably be strong pressures to resume testing.
Mr. Jay Coghlan with a nuclear watchdog group called Nuclear Watch New Mexico, thank you so much for your expertise and your time today. We appreciate it.
You're most welcome. Thank you.